All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Hughes. I'm the Director of Trusts with the Arc of Northern Virginia. It's my pleasure to introduce that we have KeyBank with us today to participate in our Financial Fitness Friday, where we'll be discussing investment objectives and some considerations that one might want to keep in the back of their mind when making decisions on how you invest your trust with us. So again, Anna Hughes, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to KeyBank to do their introductions. We will be answering questions at the end of today's webinar. So if you'd like, please feel free to put your questions into the Q&A. And at the end, Vince and I will be reading them out loud. And KeyBank will be going ahead and answering the direct questions that you've placed. All right. Thank you so much. And here we go.
Great. Thanks, Anna. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Cindy McDonald. I'm the National Director of Philanthropic Advice for KeyBank. I'm happy to be with you this morning. My role with the bank is I'm responsible for the national delivery of pool trust solutions to not-for-profit clients across the country. I work closely with Anna and her team to help create efficiencies and provide some thought leadership and help with them deliver their services to you as a constituency in an organization. So it's really happy to be with you this morning. With that, turn it over to my colleague, Vince Miles.
Everyone,
sorry, Peter Marici.
Right.
Go ahead, Peter.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Marici. I'm the senior portfolio strategist on the team. I'm a CPA and also a certified financial planner. Thank you for joining us today. I'm happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to answering any questions you may have. I've been with Key for 11 years. I've been in private banking for about 20 years. And with that, I'll pass it to my colleague, Vince Miles.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning, everyone, and happy Financial Fitness Friday on this beautiful Friday morning. We're very happy to be here with all of you. As mentioned, my name is Vincent Miles. I am a senior relationship manager here within KeyBank. I've been with KeyBank for 8 years, and I have a total of 25 years working with nonprofit and institutional clients. Manager. I am Anna's in the Arc of Norva's primary point of contact here. Presentation. So we're going to jump right in. So many of you, being down here, in Virginia, may not have heard of who KeyBank is, or maybe you have, but just a quick overview. So KeyBank is located in Cleveland, Ohio. That's where our corporate headquarters is. We're located in 30 states, which is inclusive of our retail and our corporate office footprint. We are actually the 15th largest bank in the United States and one of the large regional banks. Screen here, we have had 11 consecutive outstanding ratings with the Community Reinvestment Act. The community is very important to us. This community is very important to us. Delivering to this community and being a great partner to Arc of Northern Virginia is what makes, I think, our relationship together, working together for this community, very important. So again, excited to be here, excited to answer your questions. I'm going to flip it over to Cindy McDonald, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about institutional advisory services.
Great. Thank you, Vince. Just wanted to say again, good morning, and thank you so much. Want to talk a little bit about the institutional advisors arm of the private bank. So this is where we work closely with Anna and her team. We work, like the institutional arm works solely with not-for-profit and institutional clients. As you can see here, we have different types of clients at the bottom that we work with. There really isn't any type of not-for-profit that we don't work with, from healthcare to higher education, arts and culture, and health and human services. So this particular, the Pooled Special Needs Trust space is very close and near to dear our hearts. We work with a lot of families and organizations that support individuals with disabilities. And within institutional advisors, I'm not sure why my screen isn't showing all of it, but we manage around 78 billion in assets under administration and about 16 billion in assets under management. So we're a well-established organization. Key is about to celebrate their bicentennial, so about to turn 200 years old, which we're super proud of. And I just wanted to kind of touch base and let you know what our institutional arm looks like. So with that, we're going to get into the meat of the presentation today. I'm going to turn it back to Peter and have him talk a little bit about the investment side.
Thanks, Cindy. So hello again, everyone. So if you can go to there you go. So just a little bit of who we are from an institution investment side. Okay, first of all, we are a fiduciary, and the assets are not held on KeyBank's balance sheet, but they're off balance sheet, which is good in the unforeseen event. God help us that something happens to Key, your assets are safe. My colleagues, Cindy, Vince, and I, and all of us, we're all salary-based employees. So we don't make any commissions on anything we do for the Arc of Nova. We're, acting as fiduciary, we have to look out for the Arc of Nova and the beneficiary's best interest. I work with our chief investment office, and you can see to the right there, if you have the presentation up, George Mateo is our chief investment officer. And under George, we'll have what's called the multi-strategy research team. That's the team that looks at all third-party mutual funds and ETFs, the allocation team, equity and credit research, and economic research. Under that, and with that, I'm working with our institutional advisors group, which Cindy just described, and that's headed by Ken Sendvinsky, and that's from the investment side. He's the National Director of Institutional Investments, and that group helps us working with clients like you, the Arc of Nova, with asset allocation and modeling, developing and helping organizations create an investment policy statement. We report back to the board a lot, and education and training. And below you can see how it's a very experienced team, highly experienced, past recipient of Asset Management Outsourced CIO of the Year. The group includes 12 CFA, 21 individuals with MBAs, that would include me, I guess, and several others with Kaya, that would include me, CMT, and SEMA designation. So we're a pretty experienced group with a lot of experience working with special needs pooled trusts. So if you can go to the next. So let me describe our process, because I think it's really important how we get to the final end product and what we do once we get the final quote unquote asset allocation. You can see at the start, it's strategic planning. We work with our organizations. We help them with governance, also objective setting. And that's pretty much the meat of today's discussion. The objective, how, in what manner, in what style, and how much of asset classes we invest, whether it's equities / stocks, bonds / fixed income. We develop this in accordance with what the client, in this case, Arc of Nova, would like. We then implement this, and working with the IAS, we develop the asset allocation, the structure. We monitor the managers, right? We're not a set it and forget it shop. We are constantly looking at performance fees. Performance, I want to touch on quickly. There are times when managers, let's say, have negative performance, and they should probably, right? If we remember Madoff was always making money in down times, and sometimes managers perform poorly, and it's a market that they probably should perform poorly. We're concerned when the market's doing well and they do poorly. That's bad. We're also concerned when they do well and the market's doing poorly. So we're constantly monitoring the managers we have. We execute, and then we report back. We report back to the Arc of Nova. We provide them a monthly report of how the investments are doing relative to the assigned benchmarks. And we actually have a meeting every other month on video, reporting back and explaining any differences. The board is a very active board. They really ask a lot of tough questions when we meet them. They want to make sure we're staying within the objectives and the policies that they have set up. So it's an amazing collaboration, amazing partnership, and everyone should know that the Arc of Nova and KeyBank is really looking out for your best interest. We're doing this as a partnership. If you can go to the next slide, Cindy. So what I want to talk about is what we call investment objectives. Now, when you decide, we hope you decide to work with the Arc of Nova, right, and you're going to open up a trust account, there are 4 what we call investment options that you can select. And I'm just going to read them left to right, and we're going to spend some time on this and what this all means, right? The first one on the far left, if you're on, if you can see this, is cash equivalents, basically all cash, right? Pretty simple. There's no principal volatility. You're not dealing with the ups and downs of the market. Preservation of principal is the sole objective. You're not looking for it to grow. You just want to know that if I had $10 at the start of the month and I didn't do anything, maybe I have $10.02 because of interest at the end of it. So that's one objective. Then as I keep going, we have something what we call in our parlance called income/growth. So someone that would invest in this objective is looking for moderate growth, moderate income, and they can accept some risk in the market, some volatility. So this objective provides you with a little bit of opportunity to grow and some protection against inflation. The next one after that is what we consider balanced. And it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's sort of split 50-50 between stocks and equities and fixed income/bonds. And again, moderate growth, moderate income, average to above average risk profile. Someone who understands that the market is, can go up and down, is willing to take some of that risk, but not every ounce of market volatility. And in a balanced objective, it provides above average protection against inflation. And prior to 2022, we didn't talk about inflation for about 25 years. But inflation came back, and it's back in the parlance of people's thinking about how they invest their money. And the final objective that we can you can select, it's called growth/income. So this one, unlike the income/growth, has more equities, right? So it has more ability to grow. Unfortunately, it has more ability to take on volatility. So it's for the person who's willing to accept a higher level of risk. In return for that higher level of risk, they're hoping for higher growth and a better opportunity and a better chance to exceed inflation. So those are the 4 objectives, and we'll talk more, but so it's cash, income/growth, which has less equities, more fixed income, balanced, which is sort of split 50-50, and then growth/income, which has tilt more towards equities and less towards fixed income. So this is, the next page is pretty much what I was just describing. So left to right is the items that we can invest in. On the left-hand side, you see the investment objective. So at the top, cash equivalents, and under the column that says cash, you can see that it's 100%, right? So you're not going to invest in equities, you're not going to invest in fixed income, it's just a money market account. Then we'll start going down. So the second row is income/growth. And you can see in the next 3, income/growth, balanced, and growth and income, there's a range of cash, and we're never going to go to all cash. So we'll never be 100%. The most will be is 20. And I guess we could go to 0, but we usually have some amount of cash within these objectives. Now, going from left to right, you can see that on second row, the income growth, the equities, there's ranges. There's ranges from the minimum equity that I would hold in an income growth objective is 30, and the maximum is 50. And the neutral would be right in the middle, 40%. And then if you go to the right, fixed income is 45 to 65, real assets and alternatives. If you go to balanced, and if you can, I want you to compare balance to income growth. So again, cash is 0 to 20, right? Equities, now all of a sudden you're taking on a little bit more equity. So instead of 30 to 50 in income growth, it's 40% to 60% in a balance. So basically, the midpoint, the neutral 50% is the maximum that can be held in income growth. And then you can see there's less fixed income and the same amount of real assets and alternatives. And then finally, growth in income, you can see under equities, we've gone up, the range is bumped up 10% on the lower and higher ends. So you can see the minimum in the growth in income is the maximum in the income growth. So one of the things we recommend to all our clients is, and we'll get to what considerations when you select an investment objective. But one of the things you want to do is when you think about your objective, as you can see, there are ranges. One of our jobs as the portfolio managers, the investment advisors, is to manage within the ranges. So if you have selected a balanced portfolio, and we at Key think, well, equities, we think going forward, equities can really provide much better returns versus, let's say, other and like fixed income, and the market conditions are right, we would go, let's say, closer to 60%. But if markets aren't doing that well for whatever reason, we may tactically change the on a balance to 40%. And why I'm telling you that is that it's not, you don't have to say, wait, the market's good, let me go from income growth to growth income, or the market's bad, let me go from growth income to income growth. We're tactically changing that. And we recommend that you stay with your objective. Now, I know sometimes that's hard, right? When markets go down, and I wish I can promise you that markets never go down, but I'm going to do the other promise. Markets will go down at some point, and it's tough to sometimes take, but this is why you think about the objective. And we found that when people stay fully invested within their investment objective they selected, over the long term, they're going to be much better off versus switching between investment objectives. So if we can go to the next page. So like I mentioned, right, you're going to select an investment objective when you sign up for with the Arc of Nova. And these are some of the considerations to think about when you're selecting. First of all, you set up the trust. How much do you think you're going to be drawing down, and when? If you put money in and you're not going to be drawing down any amount of money for any length of time, that's a consideration. You put some money in and you're going to immediately draw down, and you're going to draw down a lot, that may be another consideration. Maybe in that latter one I just described, you're in a all cash objective. In the first one I described, where you're putting money in and you're really not going to be drawing down and you just want it to grow, maybe you select the growth in income objective. So that's one thing. Like I said, the initial funding of a trust, and also, will you be adding money to the trust? So, I put some money in, I'm not going to be touching it. Not only that, I'm going to be adding it. I want this to grow for a long time. You may want to be that person to select the growth/income objective, the objective that has more equities. Not only, future potential expenses, timing and when, timing and how much. So I'm not going to draw on this for 30 years. Okay, that's one thing. I'm going to draw a little bit. That's also. So these are the kind of things. And then the most nebulous one of them all is risk tolerance. And it's nebulous because everybody's risk tolerance is completely different. It's what you can take when you watch the news and the news reporter says the S&P was down 100 points today, and that's 3%. And you go, oh my God. Or do you go, just another day, when you wait for the commercial and you watch the news go and you move on, right? So, I want to make sure everyone understands that we at KeyBank are agnostic to whatever objective you select. We don't get paid any differently, any objective. So we can answer some questions about, what to consider, but at the end, it's something that you have to feel comfortable with, and risk tolerance is hard to measure. It's really an intrinsic thing. What do you feel, and what is your experience? You may have experience in the market and go, I know all about it. I'm okay. Or you go, you know what, I just don't like volatility. So it's really up to you. I don't know if you want to, okay. Do you want to go to the next page, please? Oh, and look at that. And there's our happy faces there. You can see myself, Cindy, Vince, and a really important member of our team who's not here, Stacy Yerrico. So that's all I have at this point. And I guess, Anna, we can certainly open it up to questions. Hopefully some people have some questions.
Thanks, Peter. So if anyone does have questions, I haven't seen any come in through the chat yet, but anyone is welcome to do so at this point in time. And as stated earlier, Vince and I will read them out loud, and the most appropriate person will be sure to answer them. I will also preface, please make sure that when you're asking these questions, they're general. If it's a case-specific question, that would be more appropriate to reach out to the Special Needs Trust team, and we will do our best to answer, and we can involve KeyBank if that's necessary.
Anna, does everyone know how to put a question in the chat? Maybe that's the thing. So
Good point.
yeah. I was gonna say if everyone has the Zoom up in front of them, in the middle of the screen on the bottom, there's a chat feature. If you just click on that chat feature, that chat icon, you'll be able to ask a question right there. You'll be able to type your question right in.
All right, we have our first couple questions. So the first one is, if the trust is to be funded upon the parent's demise, how do the assets held by the parents, whether they be equities or bonds or cash equivalents, get transferred to the KeyBank holdings? Are parents' holdings cashed out, or can stocks, bonds be transferred in kind?
That's a Cindy question. I would say, so it's the first is to have a conversation with Anna and her team to determine the size, because mostly if they are entering the pool, we cash out the investable assets and then transfer into the trust that they've established within the pool.
And the next one is, what about expenses for the account?
Anna, do you want to take that?
So, and I'm just trying to make sure I understand this question. In terms of expenses, those are distributions that you're asking about? Bernard, if you're able to answer or give us a little bit more clarity to what you're asking, I think we might be better equipped to answering specific. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
So in terms of distributions, and Pete, feel free to jump in too, but
Yep.
An account that is growing with investments, it doesn't affect distributions. I mean, truly, when someone submits a disbursement request, what we're doing is we're evaluating the balance of the trust. So if you've selected an investment objective, which has allowed the account to grow, great. It means that there's more money in there to consider when we're making a request approval. But truly, the investment objective isn't going to impact our ability to move forward with a distribution unless the balance is significantly lower than the cost being requested.
think that covers it, right? That's why,
Yeah.
that's why I was saying, think about your, not only your initial funding, but what you think you're going to be funding going forward, and your, your expenses. It could be, you're not going to have expenses for a while. You're going to have some expenses every month. That's, the things you have to consider.
All right, so our next question is how to establish a disability trust to receive life insurance funds that will not affect Social Security income.
So I believe that's just establishing the third party trust with Anna and her team. And then once you have the trust name and number, EIN number, then you actually go back to your life insurance company that holds the policy, and then change the beneficiary to be the third party or family funded trust as the beneficiary and recipient of those funds upon your passing. So when you pass, the policy will pay directly into the family funded trust.
I'm going to pause real quick. Cindy, there was a request for you to repeat your answer to the first question. I'm happy to repeat the question. I think there were technical difficulties with it going in and out.
Okay.
So the question was, if the trust is to be funded upon the parent's demise, how do the assets held by the parents, whether they be equities or bonds or cash equivalents, get transferred to Key Bank Holdings? Are parents' holdings cashed out, or can stocks, bonds be transferred in kind?
If the funds are going directly into the pooled trust, they are cashed out and transferred into the pooled trust.
So our next question is, do you have a minimum amount in the special needs trust before having the option to make investment choices? I can chime in and answer this, which is up to $1,000 is going to be invested in cash equivalents, because we don't want it. We don't want the volatility with that minimum balance. After we hit that $1,000 threshold, the selection that you have made when you did your establishment, or if you've asked to update your investment objective, will take effect. And that's when the funds are invested in the pool that you have selected.
The next question from Mark is, if I understand you correctly, you would like to cash out formerly high-performing stocks such as Microsoft in the hopes of finding a better investment.
Yeah, yes, that because the assets have become part of a pool. So we're investing the assets in accordance with the investment of the pool. And Microsoft may be doing well now, but history has shown that something doing well now may not be doing well in the future. So yes, we're going to, it's part of a pool. The pool has specific investments, and that's what we're going to invest in.
I also just want to plug something in, which is, I know when a trust is established, we do ask for an investment objective to be selected. And I shared that that'll take effect when the funds go over $1,000. There is an ability to change an investment objective. I know Peter shared earlier, it's not best practice to be changing that on a regular basis, but I do want to clarify, the ARC of Northern Virginia does honor the ability to make a change. It would just be a matter of contacting our client coordinator to express that you have a desire to change your investment objective, and we would ask for an updated form to be signed so that we could go ahead and make that change on your behalf.
Okay, I think we have another.
Yep. Do you want to take it, Vince? Go for
Yep.
it.
Leslie asked, when cashing out the assets to move into the trust, do you take the tax implications into consideration, especially for IRAs and SEP IRAs?
I don't take the taxes into consideration. I take the cash and invest it in the pool. The tax considerations are something I guess you would have to consider when you decide, if and when you decide to work with the ARC of Nova.
So we have another question. Does the same apply to IRA accounts? Would I list the trust as a beneficiary to go to my child? Can the trust be controlled so that the funds can be used for controlled expenses?
So if you're establishing, let's make sure I put this here.
Yeah.
So if you're establishing a family funded trust prior to your passing, and you have that in place with the Arc of Northern Virginia, then you would list that trust as the beneficiary or partial beneficiary of your IRA. Then upon your passing, that becomes an inherited IRA to which the distributions would flow into the family funded trust.
And
So
I'm
another
just gonna, I was gonna
ahead.
chime in for the second part, which is, can the trust be controlled so that the funds can be used for controlled expenses? That's where a trust plan comes incredibly handy. The trust plan is going to guide us on the intent that you had for the trust that you established. So there are sections in that trust plan that give us information surrounding how you want the funds to be used and items that you would not want them to be used for. I will also add that because the Arc of Northern Virginia is the trust manager, each time a distribution or a disbursement request is submitted, we are evaluating the benefits, the account balance, and ensuring that it is a financially sound decision to be spending the funds, and that it's for the sole benefit of the beneficiary that the trust was set up for.
Great. Lucia asked, do you still have a provision for larger estates? I remember reading before something about estates valued above 250,000. If so, what is that?
And I'm not sure about that, the opportunity or option for an individual standalone S&T and not the pool and the value of what that looks like. You want me to touch on that? So I believe it's, there's a specific value of, yes, if there's an opportunity or an option that the market value is greater than 250,000, that's a conversation to be had with Anna and her team upon the enrollment process of what that would look like and the opportunities to keep those more of a standalone, as said, instead of part of the pool. But it's, and then that would be the investments would have then be discuss with, have an option to discuss this, pick one of the 4 investments that Peter discussed and manage it to that. I'm sure there's more detail there and that's more of a specific, but I would reach out to Anna and her team and kind of have that conversation around what your thoughts are, what the plan, what the estate looks like and what that might be.
Other questions? These are all great, by the way. Thank you. Okay. Last answer was not clear. Still have to say, stay within the 4 alternatives. So yes, we have 4 specific, I'll take this one and then Peter and Cindy, you could chime in. So we have 4 specific investment objectives. Within those objectives, there's, you know, obviously there's the cash option and then the other 3 objectives. And within those objectives, there's multiple equities or stocks and fixed income. But those are the 3 objectives, 4 objectives, I guess we have.
There was a request for you all to speak a little bit more loudly. I think there might be trouble being heard, just clarifying. The next question is confirming a minimum of $1,000 to maintain a trust account for pending demise until insurance IRA transfers. Happy to take this one. So the Arc of Northern Virginia does not have a requirement to fund a trust account. For, you know, when you're considering on a personal basis, sometimes it does make sense to go ahead and fund it, but the minimum seed money is $500. the comment earlier of $1,000 was if it's $1,000 or more, it's invested into the pool that you have selected. If it's under $1,000, it's invested in cash because we do not want any volatility with the funds that are being placed into it, given it is a minimal amount. Any other questions we might be able to answer today? So a couple more. Can you explain conduit provision?
I'm not sure I understand that question, but
Yeah, can they want to
not clear.
elaborate a little bit?
yeah.
So we'll come back to that one with conduit provision, if you can just provide a little bit more clarity. The next question was, so okay for empty trust for 30+ years? Yes. If you have an empty trust or an unfunded trust for 30+ years, that's a personal decision. I will share, you know, if a trust is unfunded, there is an annual unfunded fee that is charged to the grantor, and that's $65 a year. That would be invoiced in June, and the request is to have that paid by July. It'll send out via QuickBooks email, and once we receive the $65, the account is set for the following year.
The person that asked the question on the conduit, if you could maybe just type back into the chat for the Q&A, maybe just to clarify.
All right, I think we have it here. Chat just came in. So the clarity was, as I vaguely understand it, this regards how RMDs from my TSP after my death are handled in the SNT. With a conduit provision, RMDs are automatically paid to my child, which would be taxable income for her that may affect her disability benefits. If the SNT has an accumulation provision instead of a conduit provision, the trustee of the SNT makes the determination whether that RMD payment should be made directly to the person after due diligence review of how that RMD payment to the child may impact her disabilities.
So that's wrapping in the Secure 2.0 Act.
Mhm.
So the conduit provision would be if your child was named directly and not the special needs trust, they could take that RMD, you know, even though she's receiving it or he's receiving it directly, and they could place it into the self-funded trust, but then it would have to pay out by December 31st of that year. If the second provision, which the accumulation trust, which you're referencing, is if the third party or family funded trust was named as the beneficiary of the retirement plan, then that is where the inherited IRA terminology comes into play, and the trustee would determine the RMD for that year. It would be then placed or transferred into the family funded trust. And then if the beneficiary needed funds to make for a qualified distribution, it could be used at that point, or it can accumulate in the family funded trust. So that's the difference between the conduit and the accumulation clauses when it comes to inherited IRAs or retirement funds.
Thanks, Cindy.
Okay, we have another question. So if you're cashing out your parent stocks to add to one of your 4 investment pools, then the capital gain taxes are borne by the parent's estate.
Yes.
Yep.
Next question, at what level is considered to be funded to avoid paying the $65 annual fee? The minimum seed money is $500. So if you were to place $500 into a trust, it's then considered funded, and that $65 annual fee goes away. Instead, there is a maintenance fee that would be collected on a monthly basis, totaling a maintenance fee of 1.44% per year. So on a monthly basis, 0.12% will be collected from the trust balance.
These are all great questions. Oh, here we go. Are there any property protections for a disabled beneficiary? Let me reread that. Are there any property protections for a disabled beneficiary?
Not
Cindy,
sure
do you
I-
think we need more clarification on that one?
that real
Yeah,
estate?
I don't,
Oh,
yes,
that's
I don't
different
understand if they're referencing real estate or something else.
Yeah, right. Naika, is this, if I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, is this in regards to real estate or something else? If you can just pop that into the chat. And the clarification is yes. Could I include property in a trust or sell of property funds into a trust?
Yes, so yes and yes, and conversations before both happen. So I will, there's always a conversation. If the home is held in mom and dad's name, and when they pass, the executor selects to liquidate or sell the home and then transfer the proceeds to fund the family funded trust, that is completely that's easy. That's an easy transition of the home, liquidating it and transferring the proceeds to be invested for the benefit of the child. If they wanted to transfer the actual real estate into the family funded trust, that's a conversation to be had. So there's lots of questions to make sure that it's, feasible to happen. So is there enough, are there enough funds within the trust to support not only the child, the beneficiary and their needs, but also to support the home itself? Does the home make sense? We have Anna, the first conversation is with Anna and her team. They have a couple of questions and that they go through with the real estate process. And then we kind of come together and kind of discuss it a little bit further around, does it make sense to have the home held in trust for your child's benefit? Hope that answers the question.
So another question we just received, would the answers to these questions be available to view later because it is good info? I am recording today's webinar. We will be posting it onto the Arc of Northern Virginia's YouTube channel. And there is also a plan to go ahead and generate a frequently asked questions form from the questions we received yesterday, as well as from today's webinar, and we will work to publish that on our website, hopefully within the next couple weeks, so that others can see them.
Okay, we have another question that just popped in. Does the age of secondary beneficiaries upon the death of my child impact anything, tax implications, etc.? What if the secondary beneficiary is an entity like the ARC?
Well, the age could certainly, again, when I said this wasn't all the considerations, sure, you may want to consider the age of the beneficiary. As far as, can you say that second part of that, Vince, again?
Yeah. I'll read the whole question, Peter. Does the
Yes.
age of the secondary beneficiary upon the death of my child impact anything, tax implications, etc.? The second part is, what if the secondary beneficiary is an entity like the ARC?
I don't know the tax implications. I'm sorry, you'd have to consult your tax advisor about tax implications of the second person. And I don't know the tax implications if it's the ARC. I guess it would, Anna, you must have experience where the ARC is the beneficiary itself, right?
We do, and when that happens, we proceed as closure as if it were any other remainder beneficiary, and so that entails, receiving the death certificate for the person who's died, the beneficiary of the trust, and then we hand over the information we've collected to KeyBank and proceed with our trust closure. I'm not sure if I'm not able to speak to tax implications. I can't provide any kind of tax guidance or tax information. But it would proceed as a regular trust closure, even if the remainder beneficiary would be the Arc of Northern Virginia. Are there any other questions that we might be able to answer today? If so, feel free to put it into the chat. We'll give it a couple minutes.
Anna,
That's a
this
great-
one's for you. Yep.
Yep.
How do we begin the trust process with the Arc of Northern Virginia?
So I generally recommend, if you're still collecting information and trying to make the decision of whether or not you'd like to establish a trust, every 2 weeks we offer something called Trust Talk Tuesday. That's from 10 to 11 a.m. It's on our website. And during that webinar or the meeting, what I do is I actually review our trust program, the different types of trusts that we offer, considerations that you may want to have in the back of your mind in terms of making that decision. If after that you're still looking for more information, you can schedule a complimentary consultation where you'll meet with me or the Assistant Director of Trusts, and we will discuss your specific case. If after that you're still interested or you don't want a consultation, you can go to our website and schedule an establishment appointment, at which point we will share the documents that we will need in order to move forward. We'll schedule an appointment, we'll review the joinder agreement, make sure that everything appears to be in order, and within 10 business days of receiving the notarized document, we can move forward with a trust establishment.
Great. Daniel just asked, does KeyBank serve other parts of Virginia? May need some clarification on that one, Daniel. So maybe you want to pop in a clarifying question, but as far as a retail footprint, if that's where you're asking, a bank branch location, we do not have bank branch locations in Virginia. But we do, you know, in our relationship as a co-trustee, you know, with Arc of Northern Virginia, you know, we act in the pool trust capacity with them as well. So that is basically the extent of our relationship within the state of Virginia at this point. I don't know if there's another clarifying question that you may have behind that.
And Vince, I'm just going to piggyback off of that, which is because KeyBank is serving as our trustee, we're trust managers. We're often the persons working with trustee directly. And so I just want to put this out there, which is, you know, trying to find a KeyBank location and asking them about your account won't necessarily be conducive, because the banking branch won't necessarily be involved in the pooled special needs trust branch. So just wanted to put that out there. But Daniel, I see if you were to move to Williamsburg, do you have to start over? Our program serves people in Virginia, Maryland, and DC. If you were to move to Williamsburg, Virginia is already approved, Social Security is approved, the Medicaid steps completed, and so your trust would not be impacted if you were to choose to move somewhere within the state. Does anyone else have any questions? Otherwise, we're looking to wrap up in the next couple minutes. One more we've got here. How successful have you been at generating your fee through your investment strategy?
We are how successful. So we have returns in excess of our fee, if that's the question. And again, we report back to the board every month, and we have a conversation with them every other month. And if we weren't successful in providing returns in excess of both the Arc of Nova and certainly KeyBank's fee, the board would certainly let us know, because again, the board is acting as a fiduciary for all its beneficiaries, and they're looking out for you. So you can rest assured that they are keeping a watchful eye on the performance of the investments and making sure we exceed the fees.
All right. And with that last question, I haven't seen any others come through the chat. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and wrap up today. However, if you should have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly. My contact information is on our website. You can also reach out to our client coordinator if you have an existing trust. Her name is Fiona Wright. Her contact information is also on there. And we look forward to working with you in the future, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
Thanks,
again.
everyone. Have a great
Bye-bye.
weekend.